So I'm Josh. I'm a 24-year-old videographer, creative. I run a creative media agency called Fit Space Media. So we specialize in producing content in the health, fitness, and wellness space.
Since working with myself and the High Paid Creatives team, what kind of results have you seen? What changes have you experienced in yourself, in your business, that have, held a lot of value, held a lot of weight to your journey?
A big thing is obviously not just working on the business side. It's also a lot of the mental and emotional side. Like, you're probably not going to be running a great business or bringing in, higher levels of income if your head's not in the right place, because it takes a certain amount of energy to actually build to that point. So I think definitely what we've been working on, especially when we initially started chatting, was actually just figuring out where I'm currently at from like a personal, mental perspective, and figuring out how we can improve that along with actually growing the business. So where I first started, I was definitely still in those sort of beginning stages of being more of like a freelance videographer and starting to grow my business. Had found some success sort of starting going in full time and trying to grow through COVID and manage that. But I was definitely in a place where I wanted to take things to the next level. One of the biggest things we initially worked on was figuring out who is the right niche or the right sort of clients I should be going after, and basically turning what was a fairly budget sort of lower rate service from me just being a freelance videographer, turning that into finding higher ticket clients and bringing up my rates so that I'm actually increasing how much the business is bringing in and getting paid sort of what I'm worth for my time.
Love that, man. Love that. So what have been some of the tangible changes? You mentioned there that you've increased your rates. Is there if you put that on a percentage, what's the percentage increase been?
Yeah, definitely.
Testing you on your maths there.
Yeah, hang on, let me think about that. So I've gone from probably like 500-ish a project to then now doing like 3K a project.
Okay, so you've 6x'd your price point from 500 to 3K average project.
Yeah.
And what's that allowed you to do? Like, what changes that created in your life?
So firstly, I'm just not getting like overwhelmed as much. Before it was very much like time for money, like trying to work with a lot of clients at that lower end. And whilst that was okay, it was just like I was basically maxing out my time, sort of putting a bit of a ceiling there. And also, that's just tiring if you're like really like properly maxing out your time and, you're not leaving space to rest or to enjoy other things within your life. So definitely like 6x in the rates there, as we said, just gives you more space to one, not have to take on as many clients. You're not having to necessarily sell as much. You can bring in, or you can close less clients, but still be bringing in a higher amount of revenue per month. Also allows you to pick and choose the clients you want to work with a little bit. You're not having to sort of scrap and just work with everyone that inquires. You can actually pick and choose who you want to work with and who that ideal client is, people you enjoy working with, and projects that actually give you energy rather than take away energy.
Yeah, so important, man. Being able to work on projects that you actually enjoy. I know that's a big part of my journey, has been doubling down into doing the projects that light me up, right? The exciting projects. How has that transcended? So, how has that helped you in the business from a perspective, maybe being able to invest in equipment, grow things, maybe take more time for relationships? Kind of give me a bit of an insight into like how making money or increasing your rates has shifted how you operate in life and in your business.
Yeah, so firstly, from like a time perspective, it's given me more control over my time. I'm not necessarily having to just spend all the time filming, editing, like client fulfillment. I can actually have some more flexibility there to where I can plan out my days. I'm not just stuck editing all the time. I can actually work on the business more, and grow that way, grow towards some bigger goals rather than just sort of being in a bit of a rut and just, head down, just going through the motions. So that's a big one. And then I guess from like a personal perspective, just gives me more time and less stress, right? So I'm not really worrying where the next client is necessarily coming from all the time. It's more so I can, take some time away from the business and not have to worry about it. I can spend time with family, friends, girlfriend, and do some of the other things I want to enjoy in life as well.
Love it, man. Love it. Balance is so critical, right?
Yeah.
Balance, I think. Otherwise, we just burn out, especially if we're chasing our tail. And I'm proud that you've got out of that cycle. You're taking the steps to create more and more control, more and more expansion, to keep pushing the envelope of where you can take the business. Because I know you're an ambitious guy. Like, you're a smart guy, pretty young, 24, achieving a lot. What advice would you give to other creatives? Maybe they're earlier on in their journey. Maybe they're already midway through their journey. I know that from speaking to quite a lot of creatives, there's a lot that have been in the industry a lot longer and still haven't achieved what you've achieved. Like, they're still stuck at certain points. So what advice would you give them?
So I'd say the main thing for creatives, especially if you're just starting out, is don't just focus on the creative side. Obviously, we're all sort of artists at heart. We like creating this content. That's how we got into it, typically because it's a hobby. And then that eventually transitions into a skill set we can create a business from. But don't just focus on like getting new equipment or like learning how to use that kit. Obviously, that's important, but also develop the other side of things, which is your business knowledge. So like how to run a business, how to market that business, how to do better on sales calls, like building systems and processes around that. That side is equally as important, if not more important, in terms of like having a successful business that you can live off of and that is thriving and doing well and reaching these bigger goals.
Yeah, man, that's so critical. I think sometimes it's harder. I think a big thing, like me personally, before mentoring creatives, I'd already built lots of businesses, multiple agencies, spent well over $100,000 in mentorships, probably more than that. It's probably like 120, 130. And I know that I've worked with some mentors and it's felt like a waste of money. I can think of at least a couple where I've spent a lot of money. And I think you can always take a lesson. Like, you can always learn something, whether it's how you want to do business or don't want to do business. But from your perspective, you seeked out to work with myself. What made you want to do that? What made you feel like, as a mentor, that this was someone you could trust and someone that could guide you? Because I think that's something people struggle with. There's so many mentors out there. It's like, who do you trust? Who do you choose?
Yeah, definitely. So the reason I came to you is because, one, you run an agency. Like, you don't just run an agency, you're like in the process of building that, and you're still in the trenches yourself a little bit. So like, basically what you've gone through is what we're currently trying to go through, and get to those bigger goals. So like, the fact you've got first-hand experience and you're still doing it yourself just proves that you know what you're doing, and you've been through some of the hurdles and challenges we're going to come up against or are currently trying to overcome. So that was a big one. And then also just like your knowledge on the industry, the way you communicate about content, about clients, the processes you've built out. Like, it's just clear you know what you're doing. You've built a great agency, and like, there's just so much to learn from being in just like the same proximity as you.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that a lot. How would you describe what I do, or what high-paid creators do, or like, how would you describe the overall process? So like, we say mentorship, maybe that just feels like a blanket statement. It's kind of like, well, what is that? And I guess as you're like in the trenches, you're experiencing it, you're going through this process, you've been through this process. How would you describe it to someone else?
So mentorship is basically, you can either like pay with like money or with time. So I could take a lot longer to sort of, I guess, try and figure this stuff out by myself, and just sort of, when things come up, just try and work it out and get through it. Or you can sort of just pay with money for someone that's in your position, has already been there, done it, and you will progress a lot faster. So it's kind of just like picking, what would you rather pay down with? Would you rather just it take years and years to get to those goals, or would you rather just work with someone that's been there, done it, and can get you there a lot faster and get you a lot quicker return on investment from that point as well?
Yeah, that's smart. Because you can go to YouTube, right? You can go to YouTube. You can buy books. I've got a huge library of books. I still read books. I still, you still got to supplement your education. But it's a valid point. You can either try and figure things out and like problem solve, and maybe that will take months. Maybe that will take years. Maybe you will never actually figure it out. You might get overwhelmed and give up. But fast tracking and having someone to guide you, I mean, that's exactly what I did through my career. What would you say has been some of the biggest breakthroughs? Like, what for you has been the epiphanies, maybe, from working together, from us working together?
I think the main one is just understanding what's possible. Like you don't know until you know or until you see it. Like so I could think I'm sort of maxing things out at say like 10k a month. That could be like a crazy goal for me. But then I hear what you're doing as an agency, what other people within the higher end of this space are doing, what they're charging for projects, and it just opens your eyes to what's possible and makes you set bigger goals, more ambitious goals, and understand that those big goals are achievable. You know, you don't have to settle for small projects or pain in the ass clients or not getting paid well for your time. Like it just being in proximity to that and just seeing what is possible is just a huge eye opener.
What would you say you tangibly changed in your business that's allowed you to go out and confidently charge more? Like, what is it that you learned? What did we cover specifically that has helped you make big changes?
So the first thing was switching from I guess just sort of like charging for my time and at these lower rates to like a high ticket model. And what comes with that is obviously picking the right clients in the first place. It's no good wanting to charge higher rates, but then trying to market to people that can't afford it. So definitely like picking the right target market was a big one. And then building everything around that. So like your own brand message as an agency, the content you're putting out, how you're communicating with these people. And then what you've really helped with is just putting those systems and that communication in place so that it's kind of streamlined and we know to an extent that it works, right? So it's more there's a system there to where you can kind of predict or you can have more control over bringing in leads and clients and things because you know it's more of like a numbers game at that point rather than just trying to wing it.
Rather than just hoping that clients come to you. Yeah. I know sales, I'm going to ask you a question here. Like, before we worked together, would you say you was confident at sales?
I was definitely not confident at sales.
Would you say you enjoyed sales?
No, I was like first starting out, I was incredibly anxious just to hop on a call, let alone actually like pitch a project.
Yeah. How do you feel now when it comes to sales?
So still building up my confidence there, and that's just like me as like personally, but a lot more confident, like have a clear system in place to actually, you know, get the information we need on a call to actually understand if we can help the client in the first place and then actually build like a package or something that's actually going to help their business, and then just be confident in the service we're providing is going to help them, and then obviously confident with delivering the price tag that comes with that.
Yeah, love that. I love the honesty, the fact that you're saying like, I'm more confident, but I wouldn't say I'm still really confident, yet you've still been able to 6x your prices, right? Which is a big change. There's a, you know, if you go from charging 500 to 3,000, like even just saying those words out loud and building the confidence to be able to do that. And I actually think that's the biggest barrier with a lot of creatives and other industries in general. People second guess themselves, and yeah, it's knowing your worth, which is where the personal development comes in as well. Like the more confidence you have in yourself, obviously there's the element that you have got to be good at what you do. Like you're very talented in what you do, so it was more just about aligning the systems and the strategies with the self-development to allow you to, you know, confidently go out to the marketplace and command your worth, which is something I'm sure you are going to continue to do, and I'm sure you'll keep increasing those prices as you progress forward. I mean, I've witnessed you doing that already, so it's inevitable. I'm going to wrap up this little interview, dude, but is there anything else that you would like to say that's maybe valuable for those listening, whether they're creatives, whether they're looking for guidance, maybe they're struggling or stuck in their business, or maybe they're doing okay in the business or they're doing well, but they're not quite sure how they're going to get to that next level? Like, based on your experience of working with high paid creators, what would you say to those?
Yeah, so like if you're just starting out on your journey, or maybe you're at a place where you think you've hit a bit of a brick wall and you don't really know what's next, or you're just in a bit of a rut with your business, and you want to change things but you don't really know how to do that. I think just taking the time and the expense to actually invest in a mentor that's already been there and done that is just the quickest way to get out of that situation. I'm very resilient to spend money on a lot of things, but when it comes to like knowledge or like things that are going to improve my business, that's where I'll pull the trigger fairly quickly if it's the right fit. So I think definitely spending less money on kit we might not need and more money on the knowledge side of the business is probably the quickest way you're actually going to see results.